What's up, guys? It is the heat of the summer and we're struggling, we're dying, but it's also right in the middle of one of our favorite seasons, which is topwater season.
Oh, yeah.
So, this is a time of the year that, dude, I love hate. You love hate this?
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to sit on my couch in the AC,
Yeah.
but the topwater bite still brings me out. And so today we wanted to kind of talk about topwater fishing, but in a different way. Today we're going to talk about 5 baits that are amazing topwater baits that are still flying under everybody's radar.
Yeah.
So if you would like to learn about some baits that might not be in your toolbox just yet, join us in a conversation and let's see what we can unravel. Okay, let's do it. Welcome to the Hookup Tackle.
Oh, what a stud.
Yeah. Look at that.
That was sick.
Cheers, my friends. Happy Sunday. All right, guys, some breaking news. What's new this week at the Hookup Tackle?
What a beautiful post-spawn fish.
Look at that.
Look at that gut on that. That's a nice fish.
Welcome back, my friends. I am Ben with the Hookup Tackle, the Tackle Otaku on Instagram, with my boy Griff at G6 Bespoke on Instagram, and our other boy Jeffrey the King. We are the Hookup Tackle USA. Jeff, top of the morning to you.
Hi, gozaimasu.
Griff,
Morning.
were you gonna say something to Jeff?
No, fuck that guy.
We're gonna ask him where his beer is.
Yeah.
He drank one last month. Did you see that?
Quota?
Yeah, quota. He's good
I
until
told you,
2024.
I've been sweating out all the beer I've drank.
Well, we are sweating out everything right now. I'm sure no matter where you guys are, unless you guys suck and live somewhere like Montana, which I'm super hateful and jealous of, you're probably struggling like us. It's been 120 the last 4 days.
Ugh.
Everybody's just dying, right? But we are in the middle of topwater season. It's going to last, well, for us, hopefully another 3-4 months. For a lot of you guys, at least another couple months as we start transitioning out of summer and into fall. It's our favorite time of the year. It's the funnest way to catch them.
Yeah.
There are so many great topwater baits on the market.
There's a ton of them, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you and me love topwater. We talk about a lot of the same baits all the time. We sit down, we do like our favorite baits of June, our favorite baits of July, like a lot of the baits get recycled a lot of times because of our confidence factor.
Yeah. When you're catching them on something, you don't want to change it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's working. So, other than just having fun and trying something new, topwater is one of those things where like I kind of stay in the lanes. I just want to catch as many as I can.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, and then like right now our windows are so short that you got to get out there, get a bait you know is going to catch them.
Yep.
And then just run it for a couple hours in the morning.
And then whatever you get, you go home and you don't die.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you hear us talk about a lot of the same baits in here, the kick knocker, the gunfish, the shower blows, right? A lot of the same baits are, recycled all the time. Crawler style baits, if you hang out and listen to anything that Griff talks about or what Griff and Jeff have inspired me to kind of get into. But there are some amazing topwater baits that still fly super under the radar that I think you guys could add to the arsenal that may improve your topwater fishing, and they might fill some gaps that you're missing now if you only have things like kick knocker, gunfish, shower blows, or maybe you just want to have some fun and try something totally new and different. So we're gonna run through them really quick. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Where should we start? Let's start with this guy. All right, I'll start, and then we'll jump to you.
Okay.
Deal?
Yeah.
Because I love to hear myself talk.
Yeah.
Look at Jeff loves to hear me talk too. He's already falling asleep. Okay, here's a bait that I try to include it whenever I can. We're talking about walking baits, but it's still one of those baits that flies under the radar. Okay, and this is a bait that's been on the market now for a couple of decades, and this is from OSP, and this is the OSP Yamato. Now, we're starting to see a resurgence in this bait, actually, which is why I included it in to this conversation. Now, really quick, there are many different versions of the Yamato with different, different rattles. There's a full size, there's a junior. But the reason why this guy is becoming more popular again is because fish get conditioned, right? And this is something that you'll hear a guy like Jeff talk about a lot. Like, swim bait guys really understand like the conditioning of fish. When they see the same bait or the same style of bait, the same sound, the same movement, they get conditioned to seeing that. And you guys will notice that if you started the season with, say, like, I don't know, a kick knocker, and you've thrown it now for 3-4 months and they're starting to shy away from it, it might be time to change the profile, change the action, change the sound, switch something up, right? Throw something different. If you fish a place where everybody throws the same thing, then it's definitely time to make that transition, right? So this is a walking bait that lets you stay in that kick knocker, shower blows realm. It's kind of like a pencil popper walking bait style. It's pretty crazy looking, right? It's almost alien-esque, right? So you've got these big flared gills, you've got this kind of, keel on the front, and then you have 2 line ties here, okay? Now, internally, you've got that kind of one kind of knock, but it's much more subtle. Yeah. So if I was to do the same with a kick knocker, Super Spook, it's a really loud sound. This is a much more subtle sound, so you're going to get a much more subdued approach. Basically, the idea behind the 2 line ties is you can throw it and have it either skim more right on the surface, or you could have it kind of slightly dive under the surface and be almost like a wake bait. So you get a transition between a true topwater skimming or like a slightly diving, head dive under the water kind of waking type action. So you can try it both ways. You might find that transitioning to that top hole and getting more of that diving motion might be really good if you're fishing really shallow water where you need the bait to have even more of a natural kind of movement, or staying on the bottom might give you that slicey action that calls the fish up. So again, it's a walking bait. It's just something that's a little bit different that gives you some good versatility. I think you should consider adding it. What's funny is when Toshi released this bait, I didn't know this, but in some of our conversations, he actually filmed the initial video of this here in Arizona.
Really?
At Saguaro Lake.
Oh God.
Yeah, so he called, now this is going back like 20 years ago when Saguaro was like pretty epic.
Yeah.
Right? And so he calls this the Saguaro stick.
The Saguaro stick?
Yeah, so he's like, oh, my Saguaro stick. Right, so he fished with John Murray out here on Saguaro Lake and just absolutely crushed him, and that was how the bait started. So kind of a fun tie-in here to Arizona and our shop. So there you go. There's bait number 1 for me, the Yamato.
All right. The ORC Burning Shad. Everybody knows I love the wake bait, right? But 9 times out of 10 when I'm working a wake bait, I'm working it really slow. I'm getting it to slowly get into its action and just make a ton of noise on top of the water without bringing it in too fast. But this one right here will allow me to have a good wake, but I can move it as fast as I want to. You can move it slow if you want to, but you can burn this bait and it's never gonna like roll out. It's never gonna go off track. It's gonna keep that same action, and it's only gonna dive like an inch under the water, create this sick wake, and it's gonna rattle like, it's got a pretty sick rattle in there.
Yeah. Now, this is technically a wake bait.
Yes.
And our conversation is a topwater conversation, but do you consider wake baits topwaters or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wake baits are topwater.
Okay. So it's on the surface, so it's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super small in profile. All right. Like this thing's little. Right. Let's see.
3/8 of an ounce.
Yeah.
And it has that LBO weight transfer system in it.
3/8 of an ounce, 58 millimeter, and a 0.8 meter dive rate.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So in that 0.8, you can adjust that, right? So if you're burning it, it's going to obviously go down a little bit more if your rod tip's down.
Yeah.
Or if you keep your rod tip up, it'll stay higher on the column.
Yeah.
So you have the ability to adjust whether it's on the surface or below.
Yeah. And then, like Ben said, it has that LBO system in there, which is super critical for a bait this small, but that has a lip on it right here to cast well.
Yeah.
Right? So you guys see the oscillator in there? As it moves forward, as you bring your cast back, it's going to lock in place. You're going to cast it, and it's going to create that weight transfer system to get it out there. Even though it's 3/8, it's kind of heavy, but it does have that lip, and lips love to catch wind. So that LBO will definitely get it out there. One of the biggest keys for me in a bait like this is I love to work it through current. Like, because some of those wake baits, you get it in the current, it throws the action off, everything gets all messed up. But this one, you just burn it through, and it's gonna just go straight right through it, and it just stays so true.
Now, when this bait first came out, it flew out of here as fast as we could put them in.
Yes.
Right, and it became a favorite of a lot of guys. And then we hit a couple year span where Megabass didn't produce. Like when COVID kind of hit, and they had like production went down, they had to really pick and choose what to produce and what not to produce.
No.
So a lot of like little nichier products like this kind of got pigeonholed and like put to the back of the line. And I think a lot of people just forgot about this because, you know, we were talking earlier, like, you know, OSP really made a big push in the die buzzing.
Yes.
And in the buzzing crank,
Yep.
which is a similar category.
Yeah.
Right? But I think a lot of people just kind of forgot that this is here.
Yeah.
And I was kind of one of those people. And then when it came back and I started throwing it, it's like, dude, this bait is so ridiculously good. It's just easy.
Yeah, it's an easy bait. It's an amazing option for someone who wants to go fast. Everyone thinks about Topwater. When you're working at Topwater, a popper or a walking bait, it's like a slow, steady movement. No one really thinks to burn a bait, like get it going fast, you know, get it next to a brush line and just burn it in. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Kind of like a buzz bait.
Yep.
But something that's got a shad style profile to it and treble hooks.
Yep.
I mean, it's super effective. It works great. This one is a good option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
Sick.
it. Okay, cool. There's our number 2. All right, number 3. I'm going to go the opposite way. Okay, so we just downsized a little bit and we went fast.
Okay.
Right? Now, there are times when we're fishing topwater where the fish get super keyed in on big shit.
Yeah.
Right? And you'll see them just blasting big things out. Now, big could be gizzard shad. It could be herring for a lot of you guys. We see it out here on some of our lakes where they're popping big bluegill out of the water, right? And so, you know, a lot of times the shad that we see this time of the year are tiny, right? Which would be perfect for that burning shad.
Yeah.
So if they're eating tiny little bait, you know, downsizing is really critical. But when you see them eating big, full-size bait, this one is one that's caught on with a lot of guys, but super under the radar. I think like all Imakatsu things, super under the radar, right? But this is the Imakatsu Slam Dog. Now, a lot of my staff is kind of pissed at me. I can see them mad dogging me walking away over there because this is a bait that really has been kind of a secret under the radar bait for when they're chewing big things. And I'll take one out of the package, we'll show it to you just to spec it out. By the way, this is 145 millimeters, 40 grams.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're at 1.5 ounces essentially here in total weight. So this is a big topwater bait that has a lot of sound and really does an amazing job imitating that larger prey. Let's get this guy out. So you can see it has a very similar profile to something like a kick knocker, super spook, almost a Mega Dog X kind of face on it, right? But in a smaller version. And I don't, Jeff, can you see through the bait at all? Can you see those weights move?
Slightly, yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see, but there are 2 tungsten weights in the tail here that shift. There's 1 balancer weight here that shifts. There's 2 weights here in the belly that shift. And then there's smaller tungsten weights here that kind of move side to side. So what happens is if you guys listen to this, madness, that's a loud sucker, right? So if you guys are fishing open water fish that are, you know, those big like wolf packs of fish that are looking for herring, gills, all the things we talked about, this is a bait that has a big, loud movement that's really exaggerated, really calls them up and gets some vicious strikes. Comes right out of the package with good hooks. You don't have to do anything to this bait but tie it on and chuck it. And it's not that big of a bait. It's big, but it's not oversized like a Mega Dog X.
Yeah.
When you start getting into that Mega Dog or those big depths, like that's like a whole other category, right? But this is one that you guys can throw, and a 1-pounder will eat this.
Yeah.
But really those big ones that are really keyed in on big bait, they will destroy this thing. So there's number 3.
Yeah, Ethan throws this bait a lot, and he doesn't really catch anything bigger than a 1-pounder. So
yeah, well, we'll let you guys address that. So there you go. The Imakatsu Slam Dog, that's number 3 for me.
All right, guys. From Whiplash, we have the Disturbin wire. All right, so this is a cool bait, and the concept is not new. A lot of people are doing this bladed topwater bait concept. We see it in some of our baits, but this one is kind of different in the way that you can work it.
Yeah, so we see this kind of style. When he's saying bladed, you'll see once he takes it out of the package, it has that blade in the middle. You have baits like a Teckle Goodpecker that have it. You've got Nishini has that kind of blade, and Nabino. It's becoming a more popular trend to add that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this one does something different that those baits don't do.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you throw this one, obviously you can throw it and just straight crank it in, and that blade's going to spin, and it's going to knock on the bait. It's going to create this crazy knock sound, and then it's going to give you a little head shimmy when you're bringing it in. But the true power to this bait is on the pop and walk, right? So it has that cup mouth on there. When you toss it, you can rip it like a popper, and when it pops, that blade's going to spin super fast too. It's going to brrr on the back of it as it's moving.
It's almost like a popper, like a prop bait, like a devil horse popper.
Yeah.
Kinda, right?
Kinda, yeah.
Same idea.
Yeah. So a lot of these ones that you see with the blade on the back, it's a fixed blade that doesn't spin, so it just knocks. This one is going to
Shifts back
spin.
and forth.
Yeah. So it's going to go a lot faster.
Yep.
Right. So with the cup mouth, it throws water like crazy, and you can walk it. It's not the best at walking, but it will walk, and it'll give you these short, choppy walks. So if you're a guy who loves to, chop a bait, this is a great option for you too. It's a super sick bait. Yeah. And then it's loud in a bunch of different ways also. It has the rattles in there.
I can hear glass, I can hear lead, I can hear tungsten.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the weights in the back, it casts amazing. So there's that.
Yeah, Whiplash makes some really good tackle. It's a super under the radar JDM brand. It's owned by Valley Hill. They make really high quality baits, which is important to note with them. So a little thicker walled plastic than a lot of traditional baits, and this is one that is just like the right size for everybody to use. Let's spec it out for them too, so they understand what they're getting length and weight wise.
All right, so 105 millimeters, 19.2 grams, which is gonna be an ounce or a little
about
bit,
5/8.
Yeah, 5/8.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's there. It's small. It's the right size for a walking bait. And again, it's pretty versatile in its category.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. All right, that's a good number 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I just talked about crawlers and how much the people around me are inspiring me to play. So I'm not going to talk about a traditional crawler. I'm going to talk about one that's, I think, a lot of specifically shore guys, pond guys, guys that need to downsize can really get behind. But don't sleep on it if you're a boat guy too. So we'll talk about it here. And this is from Raid, and this is the Micro Dodge. Now this comes in 2 versions. It comes in a Micro Dodge and a Micro Dodge Big. Okay, so don't know, it doesn't exactly make a lot of sense, but it's the same style bait. Now what this is essentially a soft, will you hold that for me, sir? It's essentially like a soft plastic crawler, okay? But we've talked about this before. I just want to show this to you guys. This is super simple. Now if you go with the Micro Dodge, okay, which is this guy, a 2/0 hook, works great. If you go with the Micro Dodge Big, a 4/0 hook works great. What's cool about this is it gives you the ability to rig this bait, and I'm just gonna hook it up real quick and I'll show you guys the rigging. You can throw essentially like a weedless crawler.
Yeah.
Okay. So, if you're nervous about, those treble hooks or throwing your bait into the thick stuff or whatever, well, now you have the ability to fish this bait and not necessarily worry about it. So if you throw it straight out of the package is what you get. You can throw it, you can cast it, and just straight retrieve it, and these wings are going to cause that bait to just kind of crawl, like a little bug or a minnow on the surface. Now, if they're chasing shad and you don't want this little buggy look, literally all you have to do, and you can do this while it's rigged, which is one of the magical things about this bait, is you can just take those wings out.
Yeah.
Okay? And now you have a weedless walking bait. So now you can throw this in just really tight little twitches, and this guy will walk side to side and just kind of skim the surface really quick. You can throw it over things. So again, you don't have to worry about the treble hooks coming down. If there's a log in the way, you can throw it over the log, you can walk it. And if you don't get bit, you can pull it over the log and then just keep going. You could throw it over grass beds, you can throw it through lily pads. And then if you decide at some point like, I want to slow it down and really pick it apart, again, these wings literally just plug back into the bait. Now you're back to the original and you have your crawler going again. So super easy to kind of get 2-in-1 motion. We catch a ton of fish on it. It's kind of an elastomer style body there, so you want to make sure that you keep them separated from your other plastics. I always keep them in the clamshells. Yeah. I think it's the best way to do it. But that elastomer will allow you a lot of durability and a high buoyancy on this bait. The hook comes through no problem because it does have an integrated hook slot in there, both on the bottom and the top, so your hookup ratio is great. It's just a really cool, it's just a really fun bait.
It's definitely a fun bait. One key to this is when you're throwing it, don't go too fast, right? The wings are very soft, and if you flex those wings backwards, it'll kind of just drag it through the water. And you can see, it's very visual, you can see it. So if you ever see it just dragging, just stop and pause for a second and let the bait reset, and then continue a slow pace.
Yeah.
And that's how you're gonna know if you're going at the right speed.
Yep. And the right speed is going to be a little bit slower on this one than it will on this one.
Yes.
Right, so as you go smaller, you just have to calm down a little bit more. And the same would be said with the twitching. So if you pull these wings out and you put it back to a walking bait, this is going to be much more finessey, tighter little twitches. As you go to this size, you can get a little bit more aggressive with the twitch, right? So just make sure that you're visually, like you said, just visually, use your visual cues and you'll figure it out. But it's a really cool bait that I think you guys will catch a ton of fish on if you implement it. And it's an easy one to give you dual actions. Like you could literally just tie this on and walk around, you know, your pond or wherever with one bait and have multiple actions. So that's pretty cool. So that's from Raid, that's number 5, that's the Micro Dodge. All right, guys, that is a wrap for us. I hope that was insightful. Hopefully you learned about 5 new topwater baits that might become cool tools in your tool chest. If you have any questions for Griff or myself or Jeff, I don't know what they'd ask Jeff about. Yeah. How to be a bum and drink water, I guess. But
how to sweat it out.
Feel free to drop those questions down below in the comment sections. Jeff, are you upset we didn't include any bug topwater baits in this? Is that why you're looking grumpy?
Yes.
Okay, well maybe we should do a specific, maybe you should come on the front and give us a nice bug episode next.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
All right guys, on behalf of myself and Griff and Jeff, everybody here at the Hookup Tackle, that little fish catching Ethan, him too. Thank you guys for your support. Thank you for giving us time and watching these videos. It means a lot to us. If you have any questions, drop below and we will see you again soon. Go catch some big